Oh, no, I wasn't, I didn't. Yeah, we're live. Alrighty, good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, April 11th, 2024. The time is 10:14 a.m. and I call the Mount Vernon Industrial Development Agency regular board meeting to order. Can you call the roll? You can.
Oh, do I? All right. Hold on, let me get the right roll. Chairman. John Patterson Howard.
Here.
Darren Morton. Present. Brian Johnson,
Not here today.
absent. Stephanie Vanderpool.
Present.
And Adrienne Saunders, sorry.
Right. We do have a quorum.
And we also present are Robin Mack, Executive Director of the IDA, and Darius Shethazeda from Harris Beach Transaction Council. Is Julie on? I can't tell. No, I don't see her. Okay. That's it, Chairman.
Okay, we can move forward with the approval of minutes. Have a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from the last meeting, February 14th of 2020.
Second.
Question? Roll call. Usually do all of.
I'll do it.
Mhm.
Sorry, Mayor.
And for the, like for the other ones, we usually do all in favor,
Okay,
so.
okay. Chairman Sean Patterson Howard,
Aye.
Dr. Morton,
Aye.
Ms. Vanderpool,
Aye.
and Ms. Sons, I don't believe you're a voting number. Okay, so that's 3-0.
Next audit report.
Hello,
Good morning.
everybody. I'm Shannon Manisi. I'm one of the partners at RVT, and I'm going to be going through the draft financial statement. Just so you're aware, we were still making changes as of Monday when we sent the draft, and there are probably still a few open items. So some numbers may change depending on those answers, but we knew there was a meeting today and we wanted to get you a draft. So if you have copies in front of you, if you turn to page 1, that is the opinion letter. And as noted in that first paragraph, the IDA did receive a clean opinion. So that's the sole purpose of an audit. So good job there. And then the opinion letter continues on pages 2 and 3. Pages 4 and 5 are what are considered the MD&A, so it's management's discussion and analysis. We didn't get the currently known facts as noted on page 5 until last night, so that hasn't been updated, but I do have that information to update now. But it's just a summary of the financial statements that I'm going to go through. So if we turn to page 6, these are the statements of net positions for both 2023 and 2022. So a couple of things I'd like to point out. Your cash is up, which is always a good thing. Your pilot receivables are down $294,000. So that means the amounts that you were owed last year, you've collected on. So that was a good effort there. The other receivables of $239,274 consist of a few different things. There's $199,729 due from the city for an overpayment made in 2020, and that's been on the books for a few years. There was another $99,000 from Ebony Gardens due from Westchester that was paid in 2023. So that's why part of it went down. But there was also an overpayment on a particular project in 23 for duck soup. So that added another 39. So your overall change there is 64,000. But I'm because of the current status of the IDA, I think you probably can go and try and collect that 199,000 that's been sitting on the books for a couple of years now. So your total assets are down about 310,000 again, and that's really the result of collecting on those old receivables. If we look at the liability section, you can see your accounts payable and accrueds are down about 62,000, which means that you're very current on what you owe. Your due to other governments, which includes your pilots, any money that you were paid in advance on your pilots, and what's due to other governments. And there's $20,000 in there for an escrow. So that's down about $197,000. You'll see a new line item in there for pension liability, and that's the result of the actuary valuations on the retirement system. So that's new for $49,000 for the year. Overall, your net position is $407,917. So you're up from last year. So that's a good, strong net position. Any questions on that page before I go to the next?
Yeah, so let's go back to this receivable, I guess, from the city or the overpayment of a project too. Do we
Yeah, the
know-
199,000.
Yeah, what project was that?
I don't have the specific details on it in front of me, but I could find out. It stems back from well before I think the current administration was in 2020 or even prior to that.
So wait a minute, so it was when you say it was an overpayment, I'm trying to figure out what happened.
So what had happened, based on my understanding is that in years past, a payment was made duplicate or in excess of what was actually owed to the city in the amount of $199,729. So that is money that is actually owed back to the IDA. On a particular, I'm gonna guess based on the amount, it's probably a couple of projects. I just don't have the details right in front of me of what the 199 actually is encompassed of.
So then I need.
It has been sitting there for years.
Yeah, but I need that detail because I don't know if we have that on the city side.
Okay.
As being paid, so we need to try to reconcile what we're talking about here. I know that there was one point that the Macedonia Towers and the King's Court actually paid the city as opposed to paying the IDA. And I actually just made the city pay out to the school district and the county and the monies that had been received by them. That I knew, but I don't know anything about this overpayment. So let's try to look at the details on that.
Okay,
So-
yeah, it's been carrying for a few years, so I'll do some research on my end to see what that is made of.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been carried, but I'm sure it might have been being carried because there was no way to kind of identify it on the city side because of the way in which the books have been left in the city. So
Okay.
right now that we've kind of gotten up to about 19, let's try to figure out what's going on here.
All right, yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. I can get you the detail on that.
Okay.
Any other questions on that page?
No,
Okay. So if we look at page 7, this is the statements of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. So you'll see your administrative and closing fees are up about $26,000 from last year. If you look at your expenses, your actual total operating expenses are down from last year, $62,971. So that's a result of cutting costs, and really watching where expenses lie. Your non-operating revenues are down about $12,980, and that's really the result of the rental income and the GASB 87 implementation with the lease income. So overall, for 2023, you actually have income of $28,433, where last year you had a loss. So again, the IDA is doing well this year. If we look at page 8, oh, sorry, were there any questions on that before I moved on? Okay. Page 8 just shows how the cash comes in and goes out through the IDA. So starts with your your opening cash balance and then shows how you get to your ending. So the only thing, that I'd like to point out is that the total cash collected for in lieu of taxes was about 2.4, and the cash transferred out was about 2.3. So shows how you increased your cash of 156,000. And then the second portion there is just the change in your operating activities alone. And it shows your receivables and your accruals. And then it goes into the notes. There were no changes in any of the notes for the year. Was there a question?
No.
Okay. So there's a little more information this year because the retirement plan had a little more activity than it has in years past. So you're gonna see a little more information with that, and it kind of just shows what the IDA's responsibility and obligations are with that going forward. And that's all based on the valuation that's done by an outside actuary. I'd like to point out, no, go ahead.
Before we move on from page 7, I just want to kind of point out 2 key lines. Professional service contracts dropped from 159,691 to 76,472.
Yep.
And I think that is probably directly connected with the fact that we, in 2023, I think this is the first year we have no judgments, right? We've been able to, over these 3 years, to go and clean up past lawsuits. So not, you know, and this is nice, right? We're kind of moving out of this place where we had to go back and handle things that oftentimes happen before we got here, but yet had an operating impact and expenses to the IDA that were prior to any of us who sit at this table. So I think that's important to show out, you know, because we were really impacted by those in 2021 and 2022. And so for 2023, for us to have had not pay out any judgments, for us to be able to reduce some of our legal fees and professional services, not because we don't love our IDA attorneys, but because we didn't have open lawsuits, right? We just don't have open lawsuits, right? And so, you know, that allows us to kind of realize keeping that money within the organization than expending it. And it also shows the responsible kind of administration of the IDA where we're not having continual lawsuits, because it just felt like we were under lawsuit. I don't know if Vanderpool or Morton felt that way, like, when will this end, right? And so it's just good to see that, you know, and to look at those numbers and know that we're past a stage and a phase, and hopefully we can stay in that place. That just kind of jumped off the table for me, off the page. All right.
Yes, and you'll see that the judgments from last year were on a separate line item as well. So you had not only the legal fees associated with it, but the actual payouts were on a separate line item. And you'll see that that has 0 this year. So that did also impact the fact that you do have a profit this year.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we go back to page 8, I just want to point out that there were some expenses that were originally recorded in 2023. Based on when the timing of them being received versus recorded, that were actually 2022 or even years past. So to get them in the proper period, we did a prior period and a restatement to make sure that they really did match up with the years that they were incurred. But at the end of the day, it ended up just increasing your net position because it really wasn't a loss based on other transactions that happened. And there was another 20,000 escrow that inadvertently got reversed out, but that's back on. So all of that ended up still increasing the net position of the IDA. So it was to the benefit to record those in the proper periods. And then there's the required supplementary information. Again, these are just all required disclosures related to the pension plan. And then we go to the other information, which is all the summary of the projects from 2023 and 2022. This is all compiled by Harris Beach. And then we go to the internal controls letters, which is 25 and 26. So as of right now, we do have 2 findings. I am waiting for some additional support. And these findings may downgrade in their classification. I know that the Paris report, annual report, won't come off, but we may change the wording on that because unfortunately it's still late. Much closer this year than any year past. We're only 11 days past the deadline right now. And I'm just waiting on a little bit more support for that first finding for the pilots. And that may or may not come off, and it may downgrade, but we wanted to get you guys a draft for this meeting. Any questions on that?
Questions? And, you know, we're kind of just getting this so once we have a little more time to
Yeah, absolutely.
absorb it, we, we'll always have more questions, but again, like you said, we are closer to being on time for our Paris report than we probably have since about 2017. And to be talking in April of 2024 about a 2023 audit and having a draft form of it instead of talking about 2018 or 19 is kind of really incredible. So just want to say thank you to the IDA staff, to our treasurer, to the board and to our accounting partners for working to pull this together because
The heavy lift.
it was a heavy lift. I mean, we came in and what did we start with in 2020? We had to close out, 2017 or was it 2018?
18, right?
It was 2018. So in 2020, we were, or late 2020 or 2021, I think in 2021, we finished 2018, right? So to kind of really be on track, even if it's maybe a week or two off, but we are not years behind as we were before. Our receivables are not years behind and showing a positive. So that's good stuff.
Madam Mayor, I know the Shannon indicated there's some draft and some maybe revisions to it. Shannon, do you believe we can, the board can consider adopting the audit today? Or would you rather wait till
No, I would consider adopting it because if anything changes, you're gonna get an updated draft, but I don't really foresee anything materially changing other than I'm waiting, honestly, there's two open items that may change the numbers. We're waiting on confirmation of legal fees from Harris Beach because there's a question about whether they really are, first of all, the IDA's expense versus a project's expense, and whether they're 2023 expenses or 2024 expenses. So I'm still waiting on that. And there's a question on a lease, which I'm waiting for the supporting documentation. So that might increase your assets and your liabilities. But I don't see that either of those are going to have a material effect on your financial statement. I'm hoping that they won't have any changes and that they will be as presented and that your profit won't change. But I don't know that for a fact. You can say you can adopt pending any material changes and go from there. If we have to have another meeting, by all means, I'm glad to do that for you guys to discuss any changes that happen from this draft to then. But it's a timing thing and I haven't gotten the answers. I was hoping I would have gotten them before I could have sent the draft on Monday night.
Okay. So do we have a motion or do you have questions or concerns about the two open items that won't really be material changes?
No, move to adopt it with the understanding that, if there are any material changes, then we'll come back.
And I second it.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Motion adopts, motion passes.
Great, 3-0. Thank you, Madam Chair and Shannon for that update.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good morning.
Thank you, team, for getting it done. Julie? Was Julie involved also?
Julie was involved, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think
she
she's
was.
done.
Thank you, Julie. But in case she goes back and watches it later, thank you, Julie. Thank you, Shannon
Bye. Thank you.
and
Let's
RBT.
see her.
Oh, shoot, then. She's there.
Yeah, she's on. Yeah,
Yeah, Jay Marshall.
she wasn't
She hasn't
submitted.
been upgraded to, she should be.
Yeah, we have to
Julie.
upgrade her to a panelist. Jay Marshall.
Missed the fun part.
I was actually watching on Zoom. I was having trouble looking on Facebook. Had trouble accessing Zoom, but I did hear the report. So I'm very happy with that.
Wait.
We're no longer trying to crack into QuickBooks. To get numbers that are 3 and 4 years old. It's just amazing I mean,
Nice job.
people who haven't had to sit around this table or go through this experience may not appreciate what it is to kind of, meet deadlines, but a lot of work has gone to getting us to this place. So, we have to celebrate for 30 seconds.
You're up to date, you're on
Absolutely.
time, and you got a good financial position. That's three good things.
Boom, boom, boom.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay,
Next on the agenda.
next on the agenda, financial report.
Financial report, actually, you'll see both the numbers for March and for first quarter. So I'll just, go over from the first quarter. As pertains to revenue, pilots again, not $929,782.
This one here.
The fees and rental leases, 49,221. The escrow, $970. And then interest was $1,435. Total income, of course, then adding up to $981,409. And you look at the expenses, again, expenses are related just simply to staffing. You're 29,106. And so therefore the net earnings for that period was 956,302. When you look at from the balance sheet standpoint, again, we divide that up into 5 categories. The escrow account, 849,641. Money market account, 812,363. The pilot account, 2,041,758. Remembering that of course is money that eventually is going to go out. And then operating 118,934. And then the pilot receivables, which we on the balance sheet is that which is still out, we have to collect 103,178. Total assets of 3,925,874. The liabilities are again related to those that are payable, accounts payable, small items of 797,993,000. And then the pilot, of course, equals that, which is also defined in the pilot account. On the asset side, which is 2,041,758, total of 2,049,751 as the liabilities. From a cash flow standpoint, again, the operating cash for the operation is 956,302. For the ending cash balance, of course, with all that has come in and gone out, and then is 2,160,692. All right, so that's it's minimal kind of transactions happening right now. It's based upon the general operation staffing and then the payouts, the receipts and the payouts of the pilots. For the most part, we've been doing a good job at really actually collecting that. You also notice on your pilot payment sheet that of course there have been some pilot payments that have been made for first half. Second half, we still have some that will have to be paid. We will continue to massage that and talk to our folks, but we're pretty on schedule. As we said, as you saw in the audit, we've been doing a good job at collecting it. A lot of it is because they know that if they're late, not paying, that
Late
charging
taxes, late fees.
state fees. We do have some work to do as it pertains to the administrative fees. There's still some stuff that's kind of out with some of the folks, but our accounting is on it. So I don't anticipate that that's going to be a major problem. So ends the financial report.
Thank you. And I just would amend like one word we used, said we're doing good. No, I think we're doing great. Collecting again, so, we don't get to give credit pats on the back often, but you gotta take them when they're there. So thank you so much, Treasurer Moore. Next is the business development report.
Good morning, everyone. I am Robin Mack, the Director of Business Development for the Industrial Development Agency. And today I just have 4 items I will be reporting out on. First one is the Mount Vernon Small Business Grant, for which many of you have the flyer. The Mount Vernon First Small Business Grant is an initiative to provide support to Mount Vernon business owners, as well as to attract new business types into the city of Mount Vernon. For those new business types we're looking to attract, it's based on data gathered during the first phase of the comprehensive plan. And so the grant application period will be open April 30th and will close June 16th. So we want to give applicants a sufficient amount of time to submit their request for funds. Eligibility is for small business owners or property owners that have a ground level commercial space that has an existing lease or is looking to lease the space or vacant space. Or for existing business owners who have been negatively impacted by the COVID pandemic. And then those existing business owners who are in severe hardship for whatever the situation may be. We have a metric system that will measure responses to determine who will then receive the grant funding. There's also this is a reimbursement sort of situation. So if business owners are able to show that they have X number of matching funds to do some of the work that they are interested in, then we will match that at 100%. And for those business owners that are not in good standing with the city of Mount Vernon, for example, they may have outstanding violations on their properties. They may or may not have a certificate of tenancy, so they'll have to go through the process of getting those certificates of tenancy. These funds can be used for that. Additional information, FAQs will be posted on the city's website on April 25th. So 5 days in advance of application opening period, which is again, April 30th, to provide additional details to potential applicants.
So I just want to bring attention to and explain this because I don't want anyone to say that we're being biased or discriminatory against certain types of organizations. So as it says here, it says eligibility, faith-based organizations, schools, colleges, universities, and not-for-profit organizations are not eligible. And they are not, because this is a small business grant for profit
businesses. Yeah.
Through our ARPA funds, we did release an application and we have selected the recipients to receive monies that we allocated specifically and separately for our faith-based organizations and our not-for-profit organizations. And those funds are being administered through the Urban Renewal Agency or the Planning Department. We had, quite a few organizations to get up to about 25,000. We focused that money on youth recreation, youth sports, youth arts and culture, job training, and some cultural organizations and feeding programs and things of that nature for our not-for-profit businesses who have 501(c)(3)s that were adversely impacted by COVID. All of these funds, again, are coming out of the American Rescue Plan monies that we did set aside. And so we are spending those monies down. And, want to make sure that as Mount Vernon, as the city has benefited from those funds, that our other stakeholder groups are able to benefit. So again, I just wanted to kind of call that out because it says who's not eligible. And I want people to understand clearly why they are not eligible, because funds were provided to those or made available for people to apply through a separate route that is not the IDA. So thank you.
Mhm. Also, we have a ribbon cutting scheduled on, I'm sorry.
Before you go on, so did I hear you say this is reimbursable? So,
Meaning for those business owners who are looking to do certain types of work on their property, we will want them to show that they have X percentage of funds available to do the work, and then the city will match it.
What is the cap for that? The match?
And so that will be based on the metric of where we score who will receive what
Well,
funds.
the maximum amount that we're giving out to any one organization is going to be what? Because, I mean,
That number has not been determined. So the maximum amount available is $500,000.
right. So I don't see us going above 20.
I don't see it going above that either. However, we don't know how many people will apply.
Okay,
Yeah,
but I mean, let's say, let's set it at a number, right?
Okay.
So people don't come in here with $100,000 applications,
okay,
right? So I think it's important we're gonna have more than 5 organizations to apply. So I don't want people to walk in here with the expectation that they're gonna get $100,000 and start putting in those type of applications. So I'm thinking, about 20 to 25,000
Okay.
being the max, so that it will help inform them of what type of projects or expenses they want to bring forward. It will help to inform their application, their scope of work, their scope of project, their scope of service,
okay,
whatever they're putting in there.
okay.
okay, so just so we, I'm clear. So the existing businesses. The first eligibility is that they have to have some sort of, I guess, physical, right? Physical
Correct.
space.
Correct.
Okay, that's for the existing and the new?
So if there's someone who's coming in, then yes, they have to be looking for a storefront.
So you want a brick and mortar
Correct.
business, you don't want online business?
No online
Not
businesses.
eligible, online business, not eligible.
No.
All right, so just a new business, okay.
Mhm.
So the reason why I asked the question about the reimbursement, just to say, like, if somebody, I guess, if it's a new business, do they have any money to actually front it up? In order to get it, would be the question. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so, when the one thing that we haven't done with new businesses coming into the city of Mount Vernon is thoroughly vet their business plans. And so we're looking at a way for new businesses that come in to provide us an opportunity to review business plans so that we're able to see what their current financial structure is before they lease a space. What anecdotally we've seen is there will be someone who opens a brick and mortar in the city of Mount Vernon, and they've not done any real,
Grand
Planning.
opening, closing.
correct. And what then happens is they rent these storefronts that have been vacant for many, many, many years. And it costs them hundreds of thousands of dollars that they had not anticipated. And therefore, they then close very soon after.
Mhm.
So there's no preparation. And so what my office is trying to do is figure out a way that before they even identify a space or lease a space, that we provide that consultation in advance so they don't get themselves on the hook to pay a lease and then have to then retrofit that space that they have not intended to do.
You know, what I don't think some of the businesses that are interested in coming in and some of the businesses that exist now is, when you're renting space on Fourth Avenue or a lot of these spaces, it comes as is.
They don't know that. Yep.
It comes as is. It's not like an apartment. You know, you go in and you expect it to be at a certain level. It's kind of move-in ready, or the house where you have to tweak things. And so this program really is kind of focusing on trying to keep properties from becoming vacant and address those properties that are vacant.
Yep.
And help them kind of come back on schedule, right? We want to decrease the vacancy rate. You know, as we know, it did increase during COVID.
During COVID.
It's, you know, a space on Fourth Avenue can be $10,000 a month in rent. And again, I don't think people know that. They don't know.
They don't. And the other thing, because the rents are so high,
And spaces are oftentimes not renovated or ready to open.
correct, and even the existing businesses that are there and their rents have increased over time, they're unable to do any of the retrofits or even any of the basic fire prevention, fire safety code enhancements within their space. And so there's a lot of little things that we need to address for some of these business owners. And even to attract more businesses in. We are experiencing a very difficult time combating with the reputation of Mount Vernon. Past reputation, of course, not attached to this administration or, you know, this controller's administration.
Historic.
So it's all historic. And when I reach out to many of the well-known franchises, which Mount Vernonites would love to be here, their comments are, oh, well, we were looking at Yonkers, or we're looking at Bronxville, or we're looking at Pelham. They don't even mention that they're looking at New Rochelle. Mount Vernon is never considered. So there's much back and forth conversation where I am speaking about the stuff that the demographics that are undocumented, that is not reflected in our census. And communicating with these franchisors, and I'm not talking to a franchisee, I'm speaking to the corporate office, to the business development, to the store development, and indicating to them, all right, if you're going to open up a store in Yonkers, which is right across the border from us, many of those who will patronize there are from Mount Vernon. So why not put a store, a location right in a city where we've got close to 110,000 residents? And so I'm really having a challenging time doing that. You know, breaking through those old beliefs.
So just because we can kind of.
Right, but now I want to segue to how I'm addressing that, right?
Well, hold on, because it's kind of like this, right? So the other thing on here, we said we're looking to support brick and mortar groups. If there are people, because we know here in Mount Vernon, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, we have small businesses, but they kind of have not had their own brick and mortar space. They might have been an online business. They might have been people who did pop-up shops. They might have been sharing a space with people. If they can demonstrate a history of business here in Mount Vernon for a certain amount of time, are they also eligible to apply for this if they are working on a brick and mortar space and plan?
Well, they would be considered a new business if they don't have a brick and mortar.
But I.
So yes, yes.
Controller asked earlier, he said brick and mortar, so I just wanted to marry the two.
Uh-huh.
I know the answer, but I want to make it simple and plain.
No, I
because
get
we
that.
can kind of talk amongst ourselves, but I want the people who might be watching this or whose friends might say, oh, well, girl, you've been doing your candle business, or you've been doing this business, or you've been doing an online business for a long time. And I know you want to do brick and mortar, but it's sometimes hard to get the ramp up money and to get into that space
Right.
and move into that. And this is potentially an opportunity. So I just wanted to clarify.
And the FAQs will speak to a lot of this too.
And the other piece of my question is exactly, you talked about someone has now decided that they want to have a business on Fourth Avenue. And they now are paying $10,000, right? And they need to retrofit. They don't have money to retrofit. They don't have the cash flow to do that. So when I heard reimbursable, I'm like,
I don't,
maybe-
I think
maybe it gets
reimbursable is the wrong word.
Okay.
Reimbursable means.
So maybe it's a match.
Outlay it. The reimbursable,
Mhm.
we hear it like us, as
Mhm.
government means we gotta put the money out first. If we're saying we're gonna invest $25,000 into the store, we have to spend $25,000 before you give us $25,000. And so I think reimbursable is not the right word, because I know that's not what is in your documentation and your backup. So, I mean, with our not-for-profit organizations, it's, you know, you get the money and you have to then show us how you're spending it. So we just want to make sure that people are spending it the way they said they're spending it. But when you're talking about businesses or not-for-profits, it's hard for it to be reimbursable for them because they don't necessarily have the money to outlay in the first place. So.
Right, and now hearing it from you guys' side, I'll use a different word
Mhm.
because I'm looking at it from a different perspective. And you guys are looking at it through different eyes. So the FAQs are very, very detailed. And that's why they will be posted online as opposed to, this does not give you the full breadth. This is more of a teaser. And it also,
Yeah,
yeah, that's really all it is.
So are you thinking about maybe even planning info session?
Absolutely.
Maybe because I think that's important too for folks to do it. Because
Mhm.
I think it's a good initiative thing, you know, we've been talking about it for a while. The reality of it is that we've got a lot of businesses here that need the technical assistance. I mean, at some point, you know, and you and I have talked about this, right? We got to get to a place where we also probably have some sort of incubator kind of thing that helps those that don't have the skill set to actually create a business plan, to create a financial model, to understand the cost analysis around stuff and all of that stuff that they do. And they just jump into the business, realize that they are underwater,
Mhm.
right?
like everybody who can cook and who can cater can't run a restaurant.
Yeah. We gotta figure out how to do that, and maybe also looking at some of our bigger businesses and also some, you know, bigger businesses, developers and all of them, ask them helping to provide some community assistance,
Right.
as a part of some of the stuff that we're talking about, you know.
So towards June, July, I will have a report out on services that I have made relationships with that will help either new entrepreneurs or existing businesses who are looking to upskill themselves.
And knowing that you're a one-person shop, one of the things that we've done over the past, I guess now almost 4 years or 3 years, is we've partnered with WEDC, the Women's Economic Development Council. We've partnered with Business Council of Westchester. We've partnered with Catalyst, Westchester Catalyst program, and help send people to the Catalyst program where you learn how to make that business plan. They get the computer and to walk through it. We've partnered with, what was it, PACE?
I mean, there's like a lot of people with everybody.
All type of things like that. But what I am excited about is the fact that we did meet with LISC, which is the Local Initiative Support Corporation. And they are one of the 3 largest CDFIs in the country, Community Development Financial Institutions. And the LISC New York Executive Director, Valerie White, came up here with her financial team, and Ms. Mack helped to, begin to coordinate that meeting. And this is what they do, right? This is what they do. They work with incubators, they work with small businesses. They're doing some redevelopment of down, and they worked with us on a grant initiative that we had with Westchester Community College and the Downtown Merchants Association. So I think they'd given us like $150,000 for a pilot program. And now they're looking to come in and kind of do a deeper dive into Mount Vernon and kind of really provide that level of technical assistance, and hopefully we can get them to be an anchor organization and then also partner with us in our financial empowerment center. And so we built all of these relationships, and now it's like about connecting them and building the synergy to get it going. And this is just an initiative. So it's part of a much more comprehensive plan, and understanding that we don't have to do everything, but we have to have the partners who can do and provide the next level of services that we may not be able to provide individually as a small shop. So,
So is there any other opportunities on like Sanford Boulevard, First Street? Just
Not at this point, no, not at this point. For this initiative, it's for the downtown area. South Fourth Avenue, Gramerton Avenue,
end to end?
end to end. Yeah. And at a future point, that's what the mayor was indicating, a relationship with LISC, where we are looking to provide something that would also address the other commercial corridors.
because we talked about a T or an I, we talked about Remington Avenue and Fourth Street, but then we talked about Third Street, Mount Vernon Avenue. We've already, kind of worked with some groups who are doing things on Sanford Boulevard, but you got to start somewhere,
Yeah.
right? If you try and do everything, then you don't see an impact. Whereas you have to pick an area so that you can see an impact, right? Because if we're not able to show an impact, then no one will ever believe it can be done. So we want to pick a target area so that we can demonstrate impact and move out from there. And I think that's one of the things we've tried to do before is do everything.
Right.
And you don't get to see results. And it's $500,000, so it can only go at so.
And the other thing is downtown is our walkable area. And we really do want to make sure that we focus on that. Fourth Avenue has not had any attention in decades. And so there really are there's some good finds on Fourth Avenue. They're just buried in there. We really need to take the dust and dirt off of it and let them shine. So I think they deserve this attention right now.
A lot more of these I'll have the next board.
Well, they're going to be available online. I will email it over to you. I'll email it over to you.
Okay.
Yeah, and that way you're able
Because it's too
to,
dark to print, the copy. That's what I'm, yeah, so.
well, I can, I'll get it in a black and white form and email that over. Okay? Yeah, but I won't be able to print that out and give you a handful of, yeah. So just moving on really quickly, I started with ribbon cutting on April 17th at PCSB Bank. Their new location, 119 Gramerton Avenue. That's at 10 a.m. on April 17th.
April 17th.
Yes, I think that's a Wednesday.
Guess we should be there. It's one of our banks.
Huh?
Guess we should be there.
Yeah, that is one of our banks that we use.
And we have a business opening up in late May, early June, the School of Rock. I've mentioned them before. We have an introductory meeting. The mayor has an introductory meeting with them early next week. The School of Rock is a franchise business that offers introductory and instructional music lessons. And beyond offering their private lessons on site, they will be located at 42 West Broad Street in Fleetwood, but they're also looking to align with the Mount Vernon School District. And so I've been in contact with the Assistant Superintendent of Schools. And so we're also going to make that introduction so that they can meet and move forward from there. But Mayor Patterson Howard will be meeting with the business owner early next week.
And that also kind of goes in alignment with some of what we found out during our comprehensive plan. People saying wanting more arts and cultural organizations.
That's correct. And lastly, just want to highlight some really good news. Well, there's two really good news items that I'd like to highlight. The one of the managing agents, the managing agent of Rye Playland, one of their board members is a board member of one of the IDA's customers. And so he has invited the band at Denzel Washington School, the former Thornton High School. I always throw that in because I'm old school Mount Vernon.
Is that the Nellie Thornton campus?
But that gets left off.
Exactly. So I always throw it in because I'm in alignment there. They will be performing opening day at Rye Playland, which is May 27th. And so I'm already working with the band director at Denzel Washington to make the logistics. And there'll be a really nice press release and everything about that. And finally, April 22nd will commence a memorandum of understanding between the IDA and the Youth Bureau for young people who are members of the W-Day program through the Youth Bureau, cleaning the downtown area, South Fourth Avenue and Gramerton Avenue. They will be working 6 days a week, 3 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours each day, through the end of June. And that is an effort to spruce up. And there will be a nice kickoff for that on April 22nd, and additional information will be shared. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you. And I know, there are some other things that we're looking at, like, who will move into the old Bed Bath and Beyond spot. That we're not fully ready to talk about publicly yet, but we don't want community to think that we've forgotten some of those large properties and projects. We are recruiting and having those conversations now. So
Is Target going to stay there? Is that?
Target's there.
Target is not going anywhere.
It's rumored that Target was.
It's been rumored that Target was going to close for 2 years.
Just put it out there.
I'm like,
We've heard it.
Yeah.
We've heard it
and we've addressed it.
Yeah, they were supposed to close because of the one in Yonkers, but Yonkers serves this way. Target in Mount Vernon still serves Pelham and Rybrook and New Rochelle. It serves Co-op City. It serves the Bronx. And so actually our Target is one of Target's top,
Most profitable.
most profitable. It's in the nation.
Yeah.
Right? So the fact that because there's a pretty 2-story Target in Yonkers means that Mount Vernon is going to close that has not been founded, so they've been talking about that closing for a long time because people like doom and gloom news, even if it doesn't have factual backup. But I mean, you've heard it. And so I'm not saying it's funny. I'm just saying, you're newer to this board, but we've been kind of addressing that for a long time. So, now the thing that we are challenged with in our retail stores is what retail stores all around the area are challenged with, and that is theft.
Yeah.
Everyone says they want better stores, they want nice stores, they want this, but when you allow your kids or when adults go in and you shoplift or, and stores are losing their supply. At one time, the CVS in Fleetwood, you could go in there and you couldn't find any makeup, right? You couldn't find any makeup because they're small items and people are just pocketing them. So it doesn't matter what neighborhood. And the market for people who will buy things that people shoplift increase because prices increase and their money decreases. And so it's a challenge. It's a challenge not only in Mount Vernon, but it's a challenge. I think Target closed in New York City. They closed a few stores specifically for shoplifting.
Right.
I know Dwayne Reed closed quite a few stores and CVS closed quite a few stores in our region because of mass shoplifting. And that is real. So it's something that we're trying to address. in Mount Vernon and everywhere else, and even the Senate and the Assembly are kind of looking at some things. Because you have these organized shoplifting groups now.
Right.
Everybody's trying to find a hustle.
I would like to address that Rite Aid on Prospect Avenue closed, but it was not due to theft. It was due to the poor financial status of that organization. So Rite Aid has closed hundreds of stores throughout the country. Even in my neighborhood, I live outside of Mount Vernon. In my neighborhood, the Rite Aid closed. So we do have several tenants or potential tenants for that space. And I hope to make an announcement of a new tenant in the coming months. But we are speaking to interested parties already.
Any insight on the Mount Vernon Chamber Business Chamber Commerce?
What do you mean?
Any update, any update, any?
So I was-
on what they're doing, how they're doing? anything?
I was scheduled to meet with their new president, Lisa A. Copeland. And due to several conflicts, both on her schedule and my schedule, we're looking now to meet in the coming weeks, and I'll be able to report out on the Chamber of Commerce also.
So when you get a chance, after your meeting, I want to be a part of the first meeting, but at some point, let's the three of us get together. I think 'cause I've been inundated with inquiries and calls. For some reason, some people think that for some reason Mount Vernon is in charge of the Mount Vernon Chamber of Commerce. And I told them we absolutely are not. It's an independent body. But
I've never heard that.
nevertheless, yeah, no, I've been
Okay.
getting it left and right as the comptroller. I guess they figure I have some involvement in it. And I said, I don't, but I do probably have some ideas. I think how we could probably try to partner together to try to move this because this is crucial. As I've said before, I'm going to continue to say it is imperative that we do all that we can to bring additional revenue into this city and for the city to be able to lower the tax base, right? And the only way to do that is to figure out all of these avenues for us to have better receipts that come from our sales tax, our business tax, all of those kinds of things. And if our businesses are not thriving, then it's not going to do that. So I guess I'm going to have to get a little bit more involved or pay a little bit more attention to it because it's having an effect for me on the other side now at this point. So after you have your initial meeting, that's why I asked, do
Yeah,
you have
and
any idea,
And that's
any
fair.
idea? Because since, I met with some business owners the other day.
Mhm.
And one of the things that then to me was about the chamber. And I'm like, I ain't gonna do that.
So, I mean, and I'm gonna say this, and this might be controversial, but I've never not been controversial, right? And so since, January of 2020, we've tried to really have an active relationship with the chamber. Whether it was myself, whether it was Robin through the IDA, whether it was Andrea through, economic development or Marlon through community development, there'd been so many different approaches. COVID caused them to kind of go online. It became very much of a Zoom platform, and then it was mostly Zoom workshops. I don't know, and I can't really tell you, and I can't say they have not, but I can't say that they had a face-to-face meeting in probably 3.5 years.
Correct.
Right? And we've tried and we've been very interested in working. And so there's new leadership and there's a new opportunity to work with the new leadership to really get them activated, right? Because a strong chamber in this city is going to be essential to the city being successful. Right? We need a strong chamber, and we need a strong chamber that operates also in person and really reaches out to industrial organizations, to retail, to entrepreneurs, to all of the different types of industry that are in our community and has a plan to build, right? And a plan to work with the city because, they want the city to do things, but we need the business community to do things in partnership with the city so that we can have a thriving business base. So we're definitely, I'd spoken to some board members and we kept trying to restart the relationship. And like I said, I think there's an opportunity to do that now because like you said, people think the city is in charge of the chamber. We're not. We can be a partner with the chamber. But in order for Mount Vernon to go and apply for a downtown rehabilitation initiative grant, which is a DRE, to get a $10 million grant like we've seen in Peekskill, like I think White Plains just got the DRE grant.
Mhm.
We can't even begin to apply for that as a city right now because the chamber there is not this closer working relationship and the chamber is not active at that level and has plans at that level. So it's not just the chamber. We didn't have a comprehensive downtown plan. We now have gone through and done that first phase of the comprehensive downtown plan. So these are things that we have to pull together. And so, you're feeling like you popped into maybe an online Zoom and, but Zooms are great, but we can meet in person. And I think an in-room meeting and something that we do jointly and not separately would be very important. And this could be an opportunity to kind of present and promote it, but we have the Downtown Merchants Association. There is kind of a Fleetwood Merchants Association, but we need a comprehensive group. We can't just keep having these small scattered groups just doing kind of neighborhood support. But how do we have a real plan for Mount Vernon and how are we overall, right? That's why we did a comprehensive plan because we were doing all this spot zoning. And everyone gets comfortable and focused on their neighborhood, their business district, their school. And oftentimes we lose sight of the whole. Well, I may not like the whole Mount Vernon, but I like Pennington. I like the Heights. I like Stamford Boulevard.
Right.
And we lack a full vision. So we have to deal with that in every segment of our community and definitely business community is one. And I'm not picking on Pennington. I'm just saying people getting close or I like Benjamin Turner, right? So, people get caught and connected to what they're comfortable and familiar with. And we don't braid and blend it all together. So focus is economic and workforce development in a major way. So thanks.
Thank you.
Right. What do we have next? Resolutions.
We have the first resolution is the authorizing the payment of invoices. There's a proposed resolution. I'll go through quickly what the expenses are, about $1,400 for healthcare premium for April. Harris Beach Legal Services for January and February for about $6,300. And then county sewer refuse tax, city refuse and sewer taxes for about a total of $220. There's a proposed resolution for the board to consider to pay those invoices.
So moved.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mhm.
Any abstentions?
That's
Passes.
3-0. Yes. Madam Chair, we did already have a resolution approving the second resolution, which was the audit report that was done already after the accounting firm presented the audit, so that's done. The final resolution is a consideration of entering into a lease agreement with National Gear and Piston Company. This is the property on Fourth Avenue. We have been negotiating with the attorneys for National Piston. I think we're ready to go. I just actually received an email about 5 minutes ago with a few other tweaks about assignments. But we think the lease is ready to go with these final tweaks and can have it for, we did send over, I think, a copy. I don't know if anyone's seen it. It's pretty legalese, but I'll give broad strokes here. It's a 1-year lease agreement. This is a potential area that may be
Just 1
redeveloped.
year or 14 months?
We have 1 year, 12 months, and then we have a 12-year option. So potential for a 2-year lease.
12-month option.
Okay.
12-month option, yeah, 12-month and a 12-month option. The rent is 50, I mean, it was $52.50 a month in the first year, and then there will be an increase in the second year if they decide to exercise their option. They will be paying for the utilities and the expenses on the property. So that's the broad stroke of it. I can get into some details if you like, but I think after just this last email about 10 minutes ago, it's pretty much final and ready to go.
We have a motion, or do you have a motion?
I am not prepared to vote on it. I haven't seen the lease.
I second that. I haven't reviewed it unless I.
I've been through this one before.
Okay, we'll get it, we'll have it in final form, Madam Chair, this morning, as soon as I go back to the office and send it over to everyone so you can take a look at it and then we can have it for the next meeting.
Okay. Next would be new business. Okay, the report of agency council.
Yes, just, we have been, I've been speaking to, Q West, who has an application before the IDA. There was an issue related before we could move forward that Q West would meet with the controller / treasurer, Dr. Morton, to go over a proposed pilot that he would be comfortable with in the first instance, then can bring to this board. Kathy Bradshaw from the company is here, and I believe with Mark Fonte with the company. We just received this morning. I did hand out copies to the board today. Obviously, you know, no one's been able to look at it. There's some detailed numbers on here, but maybe Kathy, we can give a broad strokes proposal. Then I think the best thing is to then meet with the controller after that.
Yes, I believe L. Judy Simmons on,
This is a project I believe has been induced and a public hearing was had, but I think we still need to consider.
can you
pilot.
invite her in?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, okay, so I'd like L. Judy if she could just, make a couple of comments on it, and then I can go a little more into detail.
Well, I don't really have any comments to make. It's self-explanatory. I have heard the city that one of the concern was that people in Mount Vernon is not the first to take advantage of the new apartments and what have you. And those who already have kids in the school system. And I've come up with a way. I know we can't pick out who gets the apartment, but we can give the community notification and discussion and be able to help them apply for the apartments. And I've committed to doing that. I also noticed that some time ago that there was a lot of property taxes due on the land which we purchased from the city at high cost. There was $178,000 of property back taxes due that I authorized, although it was not Q West property taxes. It was those people that owned the property before had not paid taxes to $178,000, and I authorized that we pay it. So we paid those property taxes. And I think that we should be given some consideration for dealing, I would say, fruitfully with the city of Mount Vernon. When we were closing on the property, which we paid mighty for, I was called by the attorney and discussed with them the back taxes that the city of Mount Vernon was asking us to assume, and I told them to pay it. So I would just like consideration be given to us that we've worked faithfully through the years with Mount Vernon and did everything that we could to be cooperative.
Okay, so we've been through the public hearing portion of our IDA. And we were at the point of dealing with the pilot. We had originally we were going to seek originally a deeper pilot than what was in the standard UTEP. We were able to work on numbers to the 10% shelter rent on 100% affordable in your Mount Vernon UTEP model. And while Mike Curdy was here and since then Darius, we've discussed the additional compensation that had to do with the number of students that might enter into the system. So in that, I believe there's discretion in what is worked out between the city and the projects. So we are presenting what we feel is a not only a fair negotiation in that, but we also have, the project has to meet certain qualifications in terms of debt service ratio, has certain things it has to pay within a certain amount of time for it to be a LIHTC, which is low income housing tax credit project. It's a 4% housing tax credit project with financing from HFA and from the county. So in order to meet all of the criteria, we had worked our model to offer to start paying compensation, which is in regard to the school district requirements at a certain point in time, and then having a regular number as in a predetermined number be paid to the city in the period of time after the first 15 years of the pilot. And that is also to allow for the financing to have a regular number that they can deal with. Because again, every year we have to make our debt service ratio work for the financing to close. And so our numbers, which back up what we presented to you, show that. I can actually send them by email. I could not blow them up unless I put them on a 2x3. I could do a 2 foot by 3 foot, but I think if I send them by email, I can send them to Robin and she can share them. You can blow them up on your screen as much as you want to. It's on an Excel, so.
So I know you're kind of directing those comments to the controller, but I know everything that we've done in looking at the financial feasibility and the cost benefit analysis of this project has been based on these 30 students, right?
Yeah.
And if we do away with that requirement for 15 years, then the cost benefit analysis really means nothing, right? And we can't allow the cost benefit analysis to mean nothing. That's why we did it. And the UTEP is put in place. And so just like as the owner and whoever you choose as a management company, I really feel it would be kind of your responsibility to make sure that as you are interviewing and you are screening people, that you balance that number, right? That, you know, if you go over it, you have to pay for it, right? But you have the ability on the front end to deal with that. If you don't deal with that on the front end, then, you know, you have a whole bunch of people who move in and they have little babies. And in 15 years, if we give this, you're still going to have those kids over that, right? So in order for it to be financially feasible for us as a city and financially feasible, I mean, we can't just consider the financial feasibility of it for your project. We have to consider the financial impact that will have on the city. We have to consider the financial impact that it will have on the school district. And that's why we've sat here kind of for 3 years and worked on putting together a UTEP that we felt was very clear and very fair and had very distinct boundaries. And so for me, I can't like consider that. I can't. So I think the responsibility of staying within your numbers would be with the builder and with whoever you hire as a management company to fill up your building. And you'd have to balance that. And that that the city can't take the hit. The school district can't take the hit. That kind of absolves the builder and the management company of any responsibility because you've kind of given yourself this 15-year window to not have any liability for that. And I think you absolutely, since that's what this entire cost benefit analysis was built on, that y'all have to work with that.
Well, your stores report had estimated, the Victoria stores had done that report. No, she had said that there would be an additional 20, expected approximately 22. We had put 30 in our estimation, and based on, she had some numbers, we had thought 30 would be where we would expect there to be an impact.
And we're not saying that that means only 30 school-age kids in our district could live in that building. It's
No, no,
saying
no,
30
yeah.
new
New
students. So if you had 100 kids live in that building, but 75 of them moved from other buildings in Mount Vernon where they were already school students, that's not going to impact the school in any way. But if you have 100 kids living in that building and only 20 of them came from other schools within the district, then, you're looking at 80. And I'm just using,
Correct.
those numbers, general numbers. So I believe again that responsibility falls on the developers and the managers to manage that. And we, because we don't have the right to choose who lives in your building, we don't process the applications, we don't do any of that, that can only be done by you. And if we absolve you of that responsibility and absolve you of any financial impact of that responsibility, then we as a city and school district loses, and there's nothing we can do. So everything we've done has been about kind of putting those boundaries and making sure that in any project that we support, that we know it's not going to have a detrimental financial impact on our city. You're operating on kind of thready places. We as a city are operating on thready places. So I can't speak for the rest of the board members, but when I kind of saw this paragraph, I was like, ooh.
Well, the only issue, we can't discriminate, and the county is going to, these placements of whoever's going into the building is going to go through a lottery, and it is going to be overlooked by an agency that the county is going to appoint. I mean, right now, there's one agency for the entire county, and they are going to make sure that there is no discrimination, and that there is no.
But nobody's responsible for making sure that Mount Vernon is not financially hurt, right? So
Correct.
it has,
But
this, we like, this is kind of just your initial presentation. We can have more conversation, but I can tell you for this is like a big red highlight for me. And we could talk about, discrimination, but we could also talk about then it's not good business sense. So we have to balance the two.
it's my understanding that we would have 30 students, the way that the statute reads, if in the resolution, the first 30 students would be no additional charge. It's over that there would be a possibility, and again, it's in the statute as it's discretionary, that there would be additional fees charged to the project. So what we did is, rather than, because we could very well be no students are over 30, we won't incur any fees. We just don't have the ability to discriminate. As El Judy said, we can definitely bring the project and do, a lot of promotion at local communities where people move from within the city to the building. But we couldn't say that at least 50% of our building has to be existing Mount Vernon residents. That wouldn't be allowed. That would be a discrimination. And I know that there's been a lot of litigation at the county level based on giving preferences to certain
No, there's been lawsuits at the county level because a lot of cities in Westchester have not taken on their fair responsibility of affordable housing. And people like to talk about what the Mount Vernon's average median income is. It's not because we're poor, it's because we've accepted a lot of people and we've built more than our fair share of affordable. We've built, let me be very, very clear, we have built more than our fair share of affordable housing. And so the incomes in our community are kind of falsely weighted because of the amount of affordable housing that we have built, right? And if we are going to expand our tax base and if we're going to support, as we just talked about, these small businesses in our community, then we have to make sure that we are balancing it out. It's not about gentrification when you have people who work in City Hall who don't make the most, or you have young people who we as residents have invested in our children to go to trade school or college, and they can't live in Mount Vernon because you either have very low income or you have market rate and you don't have enough in between. It makes it a challenge. And then we still have to accept the responsibility of all of this. So like I said, for me, I don't know, the controller and the assessor want to speak on this now. I just say my initial reaction to this paragraph is not positive. And I've just always been very direct about it. And I'm not going to change in my directness about it. And I am also, we kind of just talked today about the fact that in 2023, the IDA didn't have to pay out any lawsuit payments, right? I'm not going to set us up now, right, to be sued by the school district for putting a lot of costs on them that they can't afford or incur. So I think for me, it's a kind of go back to the drawing board and have this conversation and look. We want balance, but Mount Vernon cannot continue to incur the disproportionate cost for projects. I mean, a disproportionate cost. The original proposal, it kind of met some things and there seemed where there might be some spaces where it worked. This proposal kind of throws that whole cost benefit analysis.
Well, it really doesn't, because what it does is in the later years, the
first
16th to the 35th.
If we as a city
Is
can
a-
say 15 years,
Right.
right? We have to get,
Through the 35th, we're saying that we're paying regardless of the student population.
right, but for the
This is-
first through the 15th, while we are also in a very precarious situation, is when you're asking, you're in a precarious situation, we're in a precarious situation, but you're asking pretty much the city or the school district to absorb it, because if the school district doesn't choose to absorb it, then the city has to make them whole, right? And we're both of our organizations. If you look on the New York State Comptroller's report, Mount Vernon is in challenging financial situations. The school district is in a challenging financial situation, and we're not in a challenging financial situation 16 years from now. We're in a challenging financial situation right now. Right, so the 16-year, what's going to happen in year 16 through 30 is kind of no moment to me. What's happening in my city right now and how we're trying to get through it right now is my biggest concern. So I will ask, I'm only one vote. There are 4 votes. I'm only one vote, so my vote may not even matter. But
Well, I think if maybe if we sit with the controller and review the numbers, we've actually taken into consideration, which is why your report only said that we would be adding 20. So our 30, which is what the minimum would be, I believe in the resolution, is giving us, we're giving actually back to the city where we may not ever meet the 30 student limit based on the report that you had, the IDA,
it's not necessarily
had presented to you.
that you need to argue or try and resolve today. Like you said, we just received.
No,
And I just want
to resolve it. I just want to.
But absolutely have further conversations with the controller, have further conversations with the assessors. Those are the
Yeah.
two that are gonna run the numbers. I can just say what I'm looking at for me without running any numbers doesn't work.
Correct. It was just, we wanted to get it out there because we would like to finalize our IDA and, have everything put in place so we can have some definite numbers for our financing and for the HFA when we go to deal with them. So yeah, and again, if you have some time, I know Judy said she reached out to you, we can either do it in person in Zoom or however you want to do it. And what I'll do is I will send this report to Ms. Mack by her email, and she can distribute it, so you can make the numbers as large as you want,
Okay.
Yeah.
okay?
We'll schedule the time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anything else on the agenda? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Motion to adjourn carries. We are adjourned at 11:39 a.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.